Preptober is now in full bloom, and here are the 5 mindsets that you need to know before you start writing your first book. Plus, one bonus tip at the end. Hello! Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Anne. I'm a writer and an aspiring author. Now, I want to start this video with a disclaimer. So every time I look down, it's just me checking my notes real quick. But, disclaimer, I don't like giving out and taking in prescriptive writing advice because everyone is different. What works for one writer might not work for another. So, please take all these tips with a grain of salt, okay? We're not trying to be prescriptive in this channel. I'm just giving out this advice based on my own experience because that's where all I can come from. All of this had worked for me and I just want to share it with you just in case it also could work for you. But if you know right away that it won't, just let it go, leave it, you don't need it. You don't need to take the advice if you know it's not gonna work for you. Anyways, I don't plan on joining any writing challenges in November. So I'm taking October as also a Preptober kind of thing, but more on the production and in streamlining my writing process instead of using Preptober working on a specific project. Not just yet. I'm not ready to start a new project next month, or if I am, I'm not gonna be ready to draft anything by next month. So, with that said, let's start with the first one of my 5 writing mindsets for new writers starting their first book. Number 1, not all writing is putting down words on a page. Thinking time is writing time, brainstorming time is writing time, and your word count in the manuscript is not everything. Staring at a blank page as you envision how you want your scene to go is also part of writing. I don't necessarily want to say that it's just as important as actually putting words down on the page, because if you actually don't write anything, then you're not gonna be able to finish your book. But don't stress yourself thinking that you didn't progress or you didn't have any progress on that writing day just because you didn't have any words on the page. Because, like I said, thinking time is also writing time. Okay, moving on to number 2. Your first draft is not your last draft, and it's okay for it to suck. As new writers, I think we sometimes forget that the books that we read from our favorite authors, all the books that have been published, all those books that gave us those emotional breakdowns and inspirations, all of them had already gone through multiple revisions before it actually got published in the first place. I was also guilty of this when I was first starting. I thought writers, just have this inspiration of the story they wanted. They have their characters, yes, but all they had to do is sit down, write the book from start to finish, and then that's done. Whatever was on page is the one that gets published. But that can't be further from the truth. So, it's okay for your first draft to suck. It's very rare, I think. I don't want to generalize and say that all first drafts suck, but maybe that is still true. It just differs in the level of suckage. If you know what I mean. Like a first-time writer's first draft is gonna suck worse than a multiple book author's first draft. Because by that point, by the time they wrote the 51st first draft they ever written, they have realized where their strengths are at in their writing, and they have realized how to make their first drafts better. But you as a new writer, don't have that experience. So it's okay for your first draft to suck. The only job of your first draft is to exist. The very first book, the very first draft ever that you're going to write, all that first draft needed to do was to exist so that you can learn the skill that you needed to, so you can write more books. So the other first drafts of the other books that you're going to write from then on can get better and better and better. Either way, however you want to look at your writing, without you knowing how your process works, how your, like I said, weaknesses and strengths are, you will know how to improve for your other books later on. And jumping from that, number 3, comparison is the thief of joy. Comparing yourself to another writer, another author, whether you're both at the same stage of your writing, if you compare yourself to another one, your writing process, your writing progress, the negativity that could arise from that comparison could just be what takes away the fun of writing for you. You might think, why can't I write 2,000 words a day? That writer can. Why can't I plot? They say plotting is the best way. Why can't I just focus on writing just one book instead of multiple projects? They said that's what's slowing me down. We all live different lives. I can write 2,000 words every writing day, especially if I know how the scene or the chapter is going to go. And that usually takes me around 4.5 hours, sometimes less, sometimes more. But I'm also a stay-at-home mom who have grown kids, and I don't have much to do when they're at school and my husband's at work. It's just me and my pupper here at home. And even then, I'm still unpublished. I've only ever finished 2 drafts of one book. I haven't ever finished a book from start to multiple drafts until it's published ready. But there are multiple young authors, teen authors, who have managed to publish multiple books already. Yet here I am, still an unpublished writer. And if I start comparing myself to them, if I look at another author or another writer and start comparing my progress, my journey to theirs, that could pile the negativity up. It would definitely feed the imposter syndrome that most writers have, and I'll probably end up not wanting to write because, hey, if I can't reach that dream by a certain point, then maybe it's not for me. But the thing is, my life is different than theirs. Just like your life is different than mine. You might have a full-time job. You could be a student with a full class load and even a job. You could have small children you have to take care of all day, every day. Or you could be a caregiver to a loved one. You might be writing multiple projects instead of focusing on just one because that's how your brain works. And maybe it's gonna take you longer to finish any of those projects. But if you don't literally work on them, you'll get bored and nothing is actually ever gonna get done because that's just not how you work. So don't compare yourself with other writers. Everyone has their own shit they're going through. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. So don't compare yourself to others, especially if you know that doing so will just feed the negativity and the imposter syndrome for you. I also say that because sometimes there are people who have a high competitive drive, and comparing themselves to others actually works positively for them. But if it's not you, don't compare yourself to others and just focus on your own work and your own progress. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. Embrace the suck. Writing is a muscle, and just like every other muscles in our body, It needs to get exercised. It needs to get worked on. It needs to be used so it could get stronger. Regardless of how excited, how inspired, and how motivated you are to write your book at the start, there will come a time during the writing of that book when it felt like writing is the last thing you will ever want to do again. Not wanting to write is also part of the writing process. It might be when you get to the saggy middle of your book because you don't know what should happen next. It could be at the end of your book because you're tired of the story already. You're tired of drafting and you just want to get shit done. You just want to get it done already. And that's how I felt at the end of my last draft. I really just want to get shit done. I'm done with it. I'm just done with the draft. I need to step away from it. And you can also feel that. And that's okay. It might be when you know that you need to write, but you just don't want to sit down in front of your computer and write. And this is usually the part of the process where the shiny new idea that you just had, that very, very interesting story that you just thought of last night, starts sounding very, very good. Suddenly, you start feeling like maybe you're just not ready for this story. Maybe you're not supposed to write this book yet. Maybe there's really nothing much that you could write about this topic or this theme or this book or the plot. It really isn't plotting. And that new idea is making you excited again. It has all the twists and turns of a new thing. It has magic. It has a princess. It has a prince. It has dragons. It has all the potential to be a great story. Well, yeah, remember that feeling you had when you just first started this book that you're also writing? You felt the same way, didn't you? Yes, you did, because you wouldn't have started this book if the idea, if the plot, if the characters or elements of it didn't excite you in the first place. If it didn't inspire you to sit down in front of a computer and write all these words already. Yeah, embrace that feeling. Open a new document and type down all the ideas that you have for this new story so you can go back at it later after you huddle down and actually work on the problem that you have in this current draft. Maybe it's a plot problem. Maybe something happened in the last act that shouldn't have happened yet. Maybe the ending that you thought you're aiming for is actually not the ending that the characters brought you to. Write down the notes for that other idea and figure out how you can fix the problem you have in this one. Because believe you me, that other story idea is also gonna have some problems while you're drafting it, and then you're gonna have a new idea that will make you excited again for a different story, and then you're just gonna repeat the process, and then you're never gonna finish a first draft. So, number 5, writing is a marathon and not a sprint. It's okay to start small. Take it one step at a time. Don't push yourself to aim for 5,000 words on the very first day that you wrote the first book that you're ever gonna write. You probably can do it. You're probably gonna get all that 5,000 words and maybe more if you huddle down and focus on it. But that's going to give you a very skewed expectation when it comes to your writing. Maybe you can do that 2 or 3 more times. And on the 4th day, you sat down and then your energy, the inspiration, the motivation starts running low and you can't even write 100 words that day. And then you're gonna start feeling that you cannot write, that maybe you're not a good writer, maybe you're not supposed to write this book, maybe you just have to start a new one, maybe. All these thoughts are gonna start coming into your head because you push too hard, way too fast. I did this. I wrote 40,000 words in 4 days on the very first fantasy book that I worked on. It has magic, it has chemistry, it has romance. I didn't work too much on the pre-writing process, so I didn't plot, I didn't outline. I have a vague idea of the world. It's high fantasy, so it's in a totally separate magical world. Yeah, I wrote 40,000 words in 4 days. And then I didn't write again for the next 3 months after that. I got stuck in the fun and games section. I didn't know where to take it. It's all, it's all vibes. It's all mood and vibes. It has the tension. It has the squee moments. That book is still sitting on my hard drive, unfinished, and I still plan to go back to it someday, but yeah, I haven't worked on that book in what? I haven't worked on that book in 2 years? 3 years already. And it's been sitting there. So yes, if you want to actually write consistently, don't do what I did. Don't go hard at the very beginning. Like I said, writing is a muscle. You have to exercise it. And just like any muscle, if you exercise it way too hard on the first try, if you go on a 5K run after spending, a year or two being a couch potato, you are gonna get injured. And it's the same with the writing muscle. If you start aiming for thousands of words every day when you're not used to doing that, you're gonna burn out. And burning out is something you don't want to experience. I understand the urge to write that story idea, that book. It just wants to spill out of you, right? Especially because of how exciting and inspiring and motivating writing is, especially when there's a big writing challenge everywhere. And this is the first time that you're gonna join one because you now have the chance to write, you now have the time and the opportunity to write and finally put time into your own writing. I understand how that feels. But like I said, if you're not used to that intensity, if you're not used to sitting hours and hours or every day in front of your computer, you're gonna start burning out. You're gonna start hurting your back, your shoulders, your neck, your elbows, your wrists, your eyes. You're gonna burn out and then you're gonna experience a bunch of physical discomforts. And if you don't face yourself, you're gonna have to take a break longer than you would have wanted to get back to normal again so you can go back to writing again. And going from one extreme to the next, writing hard, tens and thousands of words for maybe a week or two, maybe you can sustain that long and then not writing for months on end after that because you just can't. I don't think that's a healthy way to be creative and to write. If you want your writing habit to be sustainable, face yourself. Start small. Maybe start with 500 words every day. Maybe your word count goal for the entirety of November, since it's the very first writing challenge month that you joined, maybe instead of aiming for 50,000 words, aim for 30,000 words. There are multiple writing groups and community that have multiple writing goals as a group, and you can find the ones that would work best for your goal and what you need. The Heart Breathings channel for the month of November has the Rough Draft Challenge, and you can set your own goal individually. I think the lowest word count goal is 25,000 for the month, and then the highest one is 100,000 words. But then there's also the diamond tier, where you can set your own goals. Maybe you only want to write 10,000 words because you're not sure what you can and can do yet based on your schedule. And that's okay. The thing is, you're working on it and you're starting slow. I'm going to link the Rough Draft Challenge website and the Heart Breathings channel so you guys can check them out after this video. Anyways, so Another thing that I did, that's why, I'm very passionate about this one, is that I did a writing challenge. I think it was last month. No, I think it was in August. I did a writing challenge in August. It looks easy. The writing challenge was writing for a total of 6 hours in a day. Usually I write from 8 in the morning to 12:30 in the afternoon, but that's not a total of 4 hours. That's maybe 3 or 2 hours of actual writing time, and the rest I go out with the dog, I stretch, I make coffee, I use the bathroom, take breaks, So I thought that maybe it's only 6 hours, it's not that big of a number. And somehow, that day, I failed. I think I only actually wrote for a total of 4.5 hours. I'll link down the video for you guys so you can see that. And yeah, I was so in pain before that day even ended. And I didn't understand why. Like, I can sit in front of my computer at my chair back there for longer than 6 hours in a day. Not necessarily writing, I could be doing other things, but I can sit there for a real long time. Maybe not continuously. I did also do it continuously in that vlog, but somehow the pain, my back pain, my shoulder pain, neck pain, lower back pain, even my feet hurts. And up until now, I'm really not sure why all those pains happened. And that was before I had to start making dinner for the day. So yes, I went hard when I'm not used to that kind of intensity, and I've already been writing for months. I'm used to having big word counts. I'm used to writing for hours, not continuously. My longest writing sprint is 60 minutes, so an hour. That's the longest, and then after that I cannot focus, and then I have to stretch. But still, it's a mystery. But my body mutinied. My body mutinied on that day, and then I didn't write for the rest of the next week. And then I had to finish that vlog on a separate day because I just couldn't. So yes, that's just an experience for you. If you appreciate this video, please hit the like button. And if you are interested in following me on my journey to being a published author, please hit the subscribe button and ring that bell so you can get notified every time I post a new video. And now, we're on to our bonus tip. Number 6. Not all writing advice is good advice. Yes, I just said that after I gave you all those advices, and yeah, it feels like a cop-out, isn't it? But no, it's not. Because everyone is different. Like I said earlier, what works for one writer might not work for the other. And everything that I've said in this video might not work for you. Maybe you're the kind of writer that needs big word counts and huddle down on hours on end on your writing day so you can take a few days break and then go back at it. Maybe, like I said earlier, the kind of writer that when comparing yourself to another, it feeds your competitive drive, and then it just helps you reach for the bigger goal that you have about your writing. Maybe you're the kind of writer that already know that they have to edit the last chapter first before they can write the next chapter, or else there's no progress that's gonna happen because they don't like how it's up, and then you don't have a very, very sucky first draft. Or maybe not sucky at all. So like I said, take what's going to work for you and leave the rest out. If you're not sure if what I said works for you, try it first and then you'll find out if it works for you or not. If it works for you, keep it. And if it doesn't, drop it. There's no one way to being a good writer. There is no one way to finishing your first draft. I think it was Brandon Sanderson. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. But I think it was him who said that there's as much good writing advice as there are writers. It's that idea. It's not, obviously, it's also, first, it's not even the perfect quote of what I'm trying to say, and I'm not even sure if it was Brandon Sanderson who said it, but I think that's the gist of it, and I really think it was him who said it in one of his earlier BYU videos. But that's the idea though. As much as there are writers, there's also that much of good writing advice kind of thing. Because they wouldn't have been able to finish a book, they wouldn't have been able to publish a book if they didn't know what they were doing. But then again, just because something works for them doesn't mean that it necessarily is going to work for another. Maybe you're a plotter, but Stephen King said not to plot, you just sit down and pants. Maybe you're a plotter and also you don't usually have big word counts because you like to internalize all the words before they get on page. But here's the thing, they knew all those things. They are saying those things as good advice because it worked for them, and they knew that it worked for them because they're practicing it. But you wouldn't know what will work for you until you start doing the thing, unless you just instinctively know that something is not gonna work for you. If someone says that outlining your book from start to finish is the best way, and when you hear that, you have that visceral reaction that, yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna work for me, then you don't have to try it. But unless you know for sure that something is not gonna work for you, try them. And then you'll figure out if it's something that works for you too. Being an author is scary. Writing an entire goddamn book is scary. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes persistence, and probably the blood and tears of your enemies. No. But we put our heart and soul into the books that we write. You want to do the same thing on this very first book that you're going to write. And it's scary when we're not sure that something is going to be good after all the work that's gonna go into it. At the end of it, if it's not good, why put all this work, But that's the thing. Writing a book takes time, and this is just the first part of this book's journey. Not just you, but this actual book. You're gonna write this draft, you're gonna let it sit, you're gonna revise it and revise it and revise it until this book is how it's supposed to be at the end of it, and it's ready for other people to see. It takes time. And I understand that could be scary. But you're also writing a book. You're making up this character out of nowhere. You're making things happen to them. You're envisioning scene after scene, plot point after plot point. Whether you care about where they go or not at the start doesn't matter. You have all this idea, you have this creativity, and it's okay if that first draft is as shitty as you think it is. Because that is the shittiest that draft is ever going to be. Unless, of course, you decide to shelf that book and then start in a new one after you finish the draft. That's also okay. No one says you have to revise one book over and over until the end of time so you can publish it. No one said you have to publish. No one said other people has to read the books that you're writing. If no one else has to read that book you're writing, that's fine. It's for you. If you're writing for yourself, if you're writing just, because you like the process, you like the idea of finishing a book or writing a book, writing a draft, that's also okay. Don't worry about the big scary stuff first. Don't worry about what will happen or the plans that you think you want to have for this book someday yet. Just focus on finishing this draft. Put your energy into it, be persistent, and write that story that you want to write. So that's all I have for you today. And if you make it this far, leave me the writing emoji. I'm gonna put it in the screen down there in the comments, and let me know which of the 6 writing mindset tips I got for you today resonated with you. And if none of them did, let me know down there in the comments too and let's talk about it. Once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!